Steve Bunin with you. What a week it's been in politics. It's going to be another fiery edition of Meet the Press on Sunday morning, and we're glad to have Chuck Todd back live once again. Chuck, at this time last week, I remember asking you, this whole thing kind of feels like it may be going over people's head without a smoking gun. Bill Maher said the same thing, others did as well, but you said this might be different, and it turned out to be very different. Now we're on the way potentially to impeachment. What do you think really changed things?
I think the president's voice. I look at it that way, and even though we didn't hear him in the phone call, when you read it, you hear him in the phone call. This was him. This is not anybody else. So I think it just made it easier to comprehend. This
morning on MSNBC, Nancy Pelosi, House Speaker, was very measured. It wasn't a moment of glee. She wasn't excited or bragging. This is a sad time for our country. How do you feel like this is playing in D.C.?
Well, in D.C., I think you feel like people are basically getting ready for what's going to be political warfare, that sort of thing. The question I have is, how's the rest of the country dealing with this, right? It's very acute in this Washington. I doubt it's as acute in your Washington.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think people on both sides are maybe sick of it, but maybe an impeachment process will further polarize it, or perhaps galvanize people together in some way. What do you think the timeline?
It's possible it will do both, by the way. I do think it'll polarize us, but I also think people will sort of have more of an awareness of what's happening.
Yeah. You talk about with President Clinton and the impeachment, and it went on and it dragged on for a long time. Again, whatever side you're on, what kind of a timeline do you think this will play out in? Will it be faster because there's an election coming up?
Well, it almost has to be. I mean, because, I think this is a legitimate question that many lawmakers are going to have, Democrat or Republican. The Iowa caucuses are the Monday after Super Bowl Sunday. We just started week 4 of the NFL season. You can do the math. That means they basically need to get this done in about 17 weeks.
All right. Who you got coming up on the show on Sunday?
We'll see. It's doable, but not easy.
Yeah. Who you got?
Adam Schiff will be the lead guest. Steve Scalise, the #2 House Republican, is where we begin.
We've heard of him. And by the way, since we ask you pretty much every week and have congratulated you on your Packers, they lost last night, finally. Your thoughts on the game? Did you get a chance to watch it, or you just not enough time in the day?
Oh, no, I watched that.
You played well.
That's all. You don't have anything nice to say? You don't have any. They're not 3-0 anymore, are they?
Not 3, but look, still on top of the division and a long way to go. Meet the Press Sunday morning
long
at
way to
6,
go.
Followed by KING5
Steve.
Weekend Morning is Chuck. Thanks. Great to talk to you once again.
You got it.
So a lot of you have been responding to our KING5 series, Hope Against Heroin, this week. Now, we introduced you to Yvette back in January after her son's second overdose. Well, today, 9 months later, his son is finally getting treatment, and Yvette is out to help other parents just like her. Yeah, there are about 70,000 Jewish people in the state of Washington, so let's enroll in Rosh Hashanah 101. First of all, why is it called Rosh Hashanah? Well, Rosh in Hebrew means head, and Hashanah means the year, head of the year, the new year. And the most well-known symbol of the holiday is certainly the shofar. It's a hollowed-out ram's horn, and it sounds like a bugle, and it's played like that, meaning that there's no keys for your fingers. So however it sounds is however you blow it, and it's blown about 100 times over the course of a day at every synagogue all over the world to celebrate the new year. And it makes kind of a high-pitched squealing sound, sort of like that, if you will. So it's New Year's. Why is it not January 1st? Well, it's in the fall for probably 2 reasons. One, according to the Old Testament, that's when Adam and Eve were created. It's also the start of another harvest season. Okay, so that's why it's in autumn. But why is it always a different date every year, right? It's early September, it's late September. Pick a date already. Well, it's based on the Hebrew calendar, which, like a lot of old Asian calendars and Hindu and Buddhist calendars, it's a lunisolar calendar that's based on the solar year and the lunar month. So it's a 19-year cycle until it gets to the same date once again. So Jews will spend a lot of time at synagogues singing, praying introspectively, and also with a lot of happiness as well. Traditional food, honey, for a sweet new year. Jews will often eat a different type of challah. It's the same ingredients, but usually it's woven together and shaped like a loaf of bread. But on Rosh Hashanah, it'll be in a round spiral, a circle. Why? Because that symbolizes the cycle of a year. And finally, another tradition, you might see people walking to an open body of water, a pond, a lake, even the ocean, throwing breadcrumbs in there. That's from the tradition called tashlich, which is Hebrew for to cast, like to cast away, in this case, your sins. The breadcrumbs symbolize the sins of this past year. You're casting them away to hope for a better year to come. That's it. You passed Rosh Hashanah 101. If you want to get more information or some of this went over your head, you can text us the word holiday at 206-448-4545. With that, we wish you a healthy, happy new year. All right, in Above the Fold today, I would like to introduce you to Eva, the whale poop-sniffing dog. This is a real thing.
Did you just say poop sniffing?
I did. This is a real thing. I didn't know about this till today in the San Juan Journal, sniffing out scat for science. Scat is what they call whale poop. And this is Eva and in his goggles, which is what they call the goggles on the dog. But this is all part of a real group called Conservation Canines. Apparently, dogs can sniff the whale scat, and researchers can learn a lot about whales. So this year, for the first time, after years of doing this, these dogs are smelling the scat of baleen whales. Don't say I didn't tell you. In the Puyallup Herald, how about Mayor John Hopkins in this pedal car bicycle? It's like a cab taxi kind of deal. The city spent 20 grand for 2 of these things, and volunteers provide seniors free rides around town, whether it's something as little as ice cream, going to the library, lunch, local parks, a way for seniors to get more involved and get out and active. And finally, in the Auburn Reporter, high school kids there learning the benefits of yoga. The athletic director at Auburn High School, Katie Henry, leading a class of about 75 students, coaches, and staff. They've been doing it all summer. Some of the football players even told the newspaper, we thought it was going to be kind of easy, but it's not. As you know, Mimi, I just started doing yoga a couple months ago, and I'm not great yet, but I didn't fall over.
That's pretty good for 6:20 in the morning, though, Steve.
Steve Bunin at the breaking news desk. Journalists often say, here's something you don't see very often, but this is something you really don't see very often. Are you ready? We are in North Seattle right now. Our crew is on site. There is a car inside a pool at an LA Fitness. This is the corner of 135th and Aurora, kind of between Ingram High School and Bitter Lake. The car went into the LA Fitness and then crashed into the pool. There were 3 people in the pool at the time. They are fine. As far as we understand, no arrests have been made, but this happened about 50 minutes ago, about 7:40 in the morning. At one point, the wipers on this car were on. We have video of the wipers on. They've been since turned off. We don't know who the driver was, if there has been any arrest in the case, but at any rate, a car inside a pool, you can bet that swimming and aerobics classes will be canceled for a while at the LA Fitness on 135th and Aurora in North Seattle. But you talk about something you don't see every day. That is something you don't see every day. Guys?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm trying to figure out, we can't see it from that vantage point. Okay,
there we go.
The camera's kind of zooming out. So the parking lot must be right nearby. There must be glass there, and the car just drove right through the glass windows. Can we see the damage?
Yeah, I think Doug's going to get a shot of this here to the left. That's where it came through.
Okay, there you go. You can see the damage over there.
Right into the pool.
Wow.
So luckily, I mean, look, it could have been a tragedy. There could have been a lifeguard, could have been kids, could have been people working out.
Well, my mom actually swims at that pool.
Wow.
In the mornings. Around 8.
We should check on her. Make sure everybody's okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there are people who swim in that pool, in the mornings. So
For sure, morning classes, aerobics.
As far as you know, no one was hurt, right, Steve?
Correct. 3 people were in the pool at the time. No one was hurt, as far as we know. That's what we know from police. We, I believe, are the only crew on the scene. So if we get any more information, of course, we'll bring it to you. But the shot of a pool now, a car submerged in the pool, a humorous one, only because we know that nobody was hurt.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, a lot of cleanup there. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Doug. We'll check back in.
Yeah, so back-to-back tragedies in the skies with that Boeing jet, and then the tragedy we had here, the Amtrak train back in December 2017. And there is a new development this morning from the hearing that the NTSB held to investigate exactly what went wrong. Well, the State Department of Transportation says it's now working with Amtrak to immediately remove Talgo Series 6 train cars. That's the type of train car they have. The NTSB determined that those train cars were not strong enough to protect passengers. The derailment happened when that speeding train rounded a curve too quickly. Today, Washington State Senator Steve O'Ban will hold a news conference near the crash site. He'll announce his plan for more state oversight of rail and other transportation projects.
Amazon's going to keep selling its facial recognition technology yesterday in Seattle.
This morning, the dust still settling after a dramatic showdown between President Trump and Democrats at the White House, top Democrats. The president abruptly storming out of a meeting with Democrats about fixing the nation's infrastructure. He blamed reporters for their part in this process and told them in the Rose Garden he'll no longer work with Democrats until they drop all investigations into him and the Mueller report.
Can't do it under these circumstances. So get these phony investigations over with?
Democrats appear to be getting frustrated by what they call the president's stonewalling of investigations. So more and more lawmakers are now stepping forward and urging House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to begin an impeachment inquiry. Here in our neck of the woods, Governor Jay Inslee signing a law that declares Washington to be a sanctuary state. Police officers will now be restricted statewide from questioning people about immigration status unless it's directly tied to a criminal investigation. The governor says state agencies are not immigration enforcement agencies.
St. Joseph Medical